Epic dip buying opportunity for Bitcoin, altcoins. The bull market is not over. For those of you out there that are so scared, we're going to be looking at the charts, the data. We even have SinCityCrypto coming on about 15 minutes in. We got some things to look at right now. Everybody get this live stream, retweet it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. If you're watching on X, make sure you retweet this. If you're watching on YouTube, head over to my X at Kelly Kellum or at Academy BitLab. Hit that retweet. If we can get if we get 10 super chats or memberships or a combination of the two to get to 10, we will do a giveaway today, randomly picked from those of you that hit that retweet, that repost on the X live stream that you see on my page and on Academy BitLab. But let's get into it. We got to look at these charts. We got to look at the data. Crypto signals suggesting we are nowhere near the top. We could have a couple months sideways. That's fine. But we have amazing opportunity here. So let's get into it. Let's go. The Bitcoin bull market is not over. Alt season, I still think will come. It's going to be a little bit different than we've seen in the past, but we're going to break down exactly what we're seeing right now, why everything right now is much like we've seen in previous bull cycles. We have to pay attention to the data and not be so worried about the price because we expected it to go up. When we dive into the data, what do we see? We see an epic bull run all the way back here since December 2022. Nice move up, bounce here, sideways action. I mean, quite a bit of sideways action if you look at that. About 243 days. Nice move up, little reset right here. Nice move up, 7 months sideways price action here, about 230, 240 days. Nice move up. And what are we seeing again? We're seeing a bit of a sideways price action after these epic moves to the upside. So what are we so worried about? In addition to all this, I just want you to pay attention and realize, looking at just simple moving averages, nothing super complex. I want you to notice here on the 3-day chart, this yellow line, which is the 100 moving average. This is a 3-day chart. So essentially it's a 300-day moving average, right? 100 times 3, 300. We can do math here. We see this breakout above this, kind of has a little deviation below, but essentially found support here. Nice move up, comes right back down to that 100 moving average here. Pushes all the way up, comes all the way back down, has 2 little deviations below, but large in part finding support here. And now what do we get? Push up, find support, launch, comes right back to this level. So on this metric alone, everything is entirely in the context of what you could have expected based on how this cycle has played out so far. It does get a little worrisome if we start having weekly candle closes below this level. Potentially, that would basically be down here in this $73,000, $74,000 range. But I expect if we do get any further move down, this is the area I'm looking for a strong bounce. It starts getting a little bit questionable if we're pushing down into here in terms of what we're to expect the next 3 to 6 months. But as it stands right now, nothing is out of context for what we should expect within a bull market. But how are you all doing? How are you feeling? What's going on in your portfolio? Are you losing your mind? Are you excited? Are you sitting on your hands? Are you buying? There is a poll in the live chat if you are watching on YouTube. Let me know what you're thinking. Are you a bull or are you scared and shaking in your boots right now? We also are doing a giveaway today. If we can get up to 10 super chats or a combination of super chats and new members here on the channel, we'll give away a $100 value item or the USDT. Depending, if you live in the US, you'll get the item. If you live outside the US, we'll do the USDT because of shipping and international, all that kind of stuff. But we got 2 super chats so far. Alexander G, let's go. Opportunity, she says. Shout out to Alexander G. And also Falco, pump me up. That's right. Pump me up, Buttercup. Let's dive into what we want to look at today because I'm going to run through some data here. We're going to look at some charts. We're going to be doing some TA at the end. And for those of you that are tuned in on the BitLab Discord, and for those of you that are watching, if you become a member either at BitLab Academy, lab.bitlabacademy.com, we're still under $100,000. And remember, we're doing a major integration. A lot more alpha, a lot more content between everybody here at Hit Network, from Joshua Jake to DZ to Drew from Blockchain Basement to, TJ. We're all going to be in one place, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But if you sign up at that link right there. You'd get advantage of being grandfathered in at that price right there. So it's a lot. It's going to be about a 60 or 70% discount from what other people are going to have to pay. So make sure you take advantage of this while you can. And if you are, not interested in that, you just want to be a member here on the YouTube. All you have to do is make sure you scroll down below the video. I just want to show it to you. Scroll down below the video. Make sure it says subscribed. Click this little arrow right here. Click this bell. When we say ding the bell, that's that. Turn on the notifications. Once you're subscribed, you will see a join button. It's about $1.25 a week. You'll get access to the member streams that we're doing. My goal is just now to really focus on getting a minimum of 4, but I'm looking really to do 4 to 6 member streams in the afternoons. And this is where we can do more TA on altcoins, things that you all specifically want to see beyond, a lot of the news that kind of takes the news and the charts and the on-chain and Bitcoin and Ethereum mostly focused on this, the morning show. So members, you get access to that. And even if you're not a member, make sure you are subscribed and this notification is turned on. And because these member streams, about 1, sometimes 2 a week, the first 10 minutes or so I post them public. And so you'll get notified of those streams. And then I set them back to unlisted only so members can see. Now let's dive into what we want to look at today, because I got to run through this because we got SinCityCrypto coming on here in just a few minutes. This is the bear market feel that we're feeling right now. All of these altcoins, 60, 70, 50%, 40% down. So much blood here, but we want to look. What do we do when there's blood in the streets? We try to go between the cheeks and clap those cheeks, buying that bull opportunity. You make money when everybody else is scared. So when we're diving into this is actually yesterday. We see Bitcoin is moving down while taker buyers are outperforming. So this is when you got that flippening of people really trying to short and sell out of the market. And then as this drops, you get this basically, you see this flip, boom, buyers coming in. This was kind of forecasting a little bit of a bounce likely to come. And we're seeing that today. It's not, oh my God, we're going straight up from here. We got some work to do in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I walked by Drew's desk earlier today and I said, you watch in the next 3 weeks. I think whether it's within this week or at the very end of that 3 weeks, I think by the end of this month, we will start seeing price action actually resolve to the upside. Now, continuing on, why is that? Because we see whales accumulated over 65,000 Bitcoin, not $65,000 worth, 65,000 Bitcoin stacked in. Despite the continued correction in Bitcoin, whales have accumulated more than 65,000 Bitcoin in this last month when the price action has been choppy and falling. Okay? Indicating high buying pressure from large network participants. In addition to that, we're just seeing a never-ending onslaught of incredibly long, looking out into the future, the data that's suggesting a better, more asymmetric bullish opportunity. Who cares what price is doing between now and even all of this year? The outlook into the future is so far beyond bullish that we need to stop being so expectant on the price action today in this moment, because we need it to go up. It's going to come. We just have to allow the market to basically take on all this uncertainty we're seeing from the greater geopolitical sort of stresses in the market, from the tariffs and the shakeup with the new administration. All that will resolve, and I think it's going to be ultimately very bullish. And we see this from tech dev. We didn't get a cycle. That's because we're only just starting the one you have in mind. What is this? Boom, look at this resetting right here. Very similar, very akin to what we saw here, where we had the large move up from about 3,000 to 14,000, the sell-off, the market's over, only to have that sideways price action, this fully resetting, and then we got to launch. Same thing we saw back here. The price action was already moving up quite significantly. We got a bit of a sell-off. We got the full reset here. And then what did we see? The actual parabola started. Could you imagine if this is the case? I know I'm ready for it. Are you ready for it? Right now is not the time to be scared. Even if, this is not financial advice, even if we got a larger pullback like we saw here from $14,000 all the way back down to about $4,000, that's okay. For me, that would just be a better opportunity to buy at lower prices. We might need to be more patient than we expect. We might get bigger market swings to the downside here than we expect. But the bullish case for the stacking that's going to happen from major market players is only just heating up. So let's not lose sight for the forest for the trees for where we're at right now. Let's take advantage of the gifts that this market is giving. Now, what do we see? Active selling by long-term holders on exchanges has ended per on-chain data. That's one of the best things about Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain. It's the ability to track things in essentially real time based on wallet sizes, based on how much is being transacted and by who and for what frequency, how old the coins are, how new the coins are. And so we can get a very healthy metric in real time as to what type of players are doing what in the market, when, where, and why. So what do we see? Active selling by long-term holders, LTH. That's what LTH stands for, long-term holders. Coins held longer than 155 days. And that could be all the way up to many years. Why? Because 155 days marks a seismic shift in the type of behavior you can expect from the holder if they're holding beyond that, or if those are wallets that typically buy and don't ever sell. It changes your perception to forecast what they will likely do with those coins. So long-term holders on exchanges has ended the selling with the monthly moving average inflow dropping from 3.8% to 1.4%. This minimal selling activity from long-term holders is a positive signal, reducing downward pressure on Bitcoin price. Does this mean the bottom is in? Maybe. We have to assess this on a daily basis as we're getting an ever-changing geopolitical landscape and the economic pressures and the tariffs. And we had another announcement for tariffs today, on Canada for aluminum and steel. There's a lot of things at play right now as this new administration is trying to get things on, basically set up where their footing is going to be for the next 4 years. And we haven't even seen major corporate buying yet. We haven't even seen major nation state buying yet outside of El Salvador and Abu Dhabi stacking into Bitcoin Sovereign Wealth Fund. Bhutan also mining. When this dominoes start to fall, especially with Cynthia Lummis's bill getting re-dropped on the floor today with more co-sponsors with the plan to buy 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. Now, again, I do not expect any buying from the U.S. on that bill this year. We have the strategic Bitcoin reserve established with the 200,000 we already have. We might get budget neutral ways to acquire some more, but I think the big buying that we're going to start to really see will likely happen next year or even the year after that. These large bureaucratic decisions take some time to identify funding in order to do them. The point is, some people are expectant, they need it now. Now, this market, guys, we are in for an incredible, incredible run, and it might take a little longer than you expect. However, when this market does pop, and I mean in the bullish sense, realize we had 7-month sideways price action, 7 months with ranges from 58,000 up to 73,000, down to 55,000, back up to 72,000, all the way down to 53,000, back up to 71,000. These are roughly $20,000 swings. And then boom, all the way down from 71,000 all the way down here to 49,000. And then from this low, it went from 49,000 up to back up here, 39% pump, $20,000 move in about a month. And then from this point forward, breakout, find confirmation, meaning you broke a previous resistance line right here, came down, found confirmation, and boom, on that confirmation, the market then, let me go ahead and find the measuring stick from that move all the way up here to that top. Let's go to this top right here. 14 days, $42,000 move within 2 weeks. When this market has pent up energy and expectation like it does, it's ripe to shake people out, both to the downside and the upside. In fact, let's look at the liquidity in the market. Look at this, came down, came up here, tapped this, didn't quite flush it out, came down, flushed all this liquidity, people longing, flushed them out. Then the market pushed up, came up here, flushed out this liquidity. Look, flushed out these are people shorting, flushed that out. No, let's eat their lunch. And then here, it looks like it's really getting set to come down and tap this liquidity. Oh, wait, this is actually exactly what happened. Let's see what happened. Boom. Look at that. From this point right here, it did boom, came back up here, tapped that, boom, cleared this liquidity, that magnet pressure below us, and then came right back up into the zone. We're kind of chopping in the zone. We are very likely to get a large move at some point, whether it's into the end of this month or sometime in April. It might take some time. We have the FOMC meeting coming up, and now we have the markets dropping, which gives better likelihood, better probability, and a good reasoning for the Fed to start to talk about whether they cut them in this month, which they more likely than not won't, or they start talking very dovishly about what their action plan is going to be this year, furthering the expectation and the planning for rate cuts to happen later this year, which starts to get priced in before that happens, aka prices start getting marked up. People start buying that probability. So we're sitting very good right now. And the fact that long-term holders are starting to reduce their selling, the fact that we see 65,000 Bitcoin being purchased by whales in the last 30 days in the face, oh my God, the market's over. Why the hell is big, ultra large money players stacking in at these levels? They don't stack in at tops. What are you talking about, Willis? Then we look at this. We see the incredible things here from Bitwise. Bitwise launching the OWNB is the ticker, Bitwise Bitcoin Standard Corporations ETF. Basically getting exposure to corporations that are Bitcoin facing. Essentially corporations out there that are stacking in their corporate treasuries to Bitcoin. Holds companies with at least 1,000 Bitcoin in their corporate treasury, and it's balanced based on how big those corporate treasuries are, with Strategy having 20%, Mara having 12%, CleanSpark 6%, Riot, Boya, Metaplanet, Acre, Bitfarms, Bitfufu, Galaxy Digital. So people out there can get exposure to these companies that are, some of these are miners, some of these are different, Strategy is a Bitcoin development company. They're a software company that has the largest corporate treasury, right at about 500,000 Bitcoin. The access channels, the point of which people can get access to these markets is only growing. I talked about it on a short that I did this morning with, we had the fair value accounting that changed in December, which changes and basically flips the entire corporate market on its head, and their ability to actually meaningfully stack Bitcoin in a corporate treasury now, basically being able to fair value account it like you can stocks, which they were not able to do before. So now corporations, the rule changed. They don't just start buying immediately. Some of these things take time. And now we have all of the positive discourse on a daily basis in world governments and the strategic Bitcoin reserve. The likelihood that we're about to start to see some major dominoes falling and major corporations getting their action plan in order for what their corporate Bitcoin strategy is going to be is a seismic shift in terms of the buying pressure that can and will likely start coming in. We also saw Wedbush, I think it was Wedbush, said that they're predicting about 5% of all corporations in the US to basically have a Bitcoin strategy and acting on that within the next 12 months. That is tens of thousands, if not 100,000 corporations enacting their Bitcoin strategy platform, action plan. In addition to that, we had SAB 121 that was just rescinded 2-3 weeks ago, which now allows banks to meaningfully get involved in digital assets, custody services. And when banks or any financial institution has a product in a niche, what do, especially when they launch it? They start active, positive marketing campaigns around that asset and the underlying asset that's therein. So whether or not you agree with banks being able to hold, at least in the near term, aka the next 7 years, yes, that's a near term in markets. This means we are about to have a marketing blitz beyond anything that we've ever seen, especially for all these retail people out there that have been waiting on the sidelines because they haven't had their trusted people out there speaking positively about it, because we spent 15 years up until January 11th of this last year where corporations, banks, big money players, financial institutions only shit talked Bitcoin, and now they're going to have financial products. So now they're going to be selling it en masse to their customers. Now, with that being said, we do have a guest here waiting in the wings, and we have some more stuff we can bring up when we pop on here. And I just want to let Mr. SinCityCrypto know You're welcome to share a chart, and I'll bring it up when it's relevant. Just have your screens, if you are going to share, so I can assign it the role so it goes in the right place. But we got our main mamon, Mr. David from Sin City Crypto. First time on the channel, I do believe. How you doing, brother?
What's up, brother? Did you call me the main mamon?
The main mamon, baby.
Is there a story behind that? Because mamon in Spanish means a bad word.
Well, it was one of my dad's best friends growing up. He used to always say, "Hey, my main mamon." I think it means like my main sucker or something, doesn't it?
I'm just kidding. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me, dude.
I couldn't be more bullish. I couldn't be more excited. Markets, everybody thinks the markets are cooling down. And as somebody that's long-term bullish on this, for me, the market right now is just heating up because I'm like, you're telling me I still have an opportunity to buy Bitcoin, to buy these alts that have just absolutely tanked. We have opportunities at prices with only a stronger and stronger bullish narrative looking forward. Why is anybody upset with what's going on right now?
You know, it's funny. You hear people talking about all the time. Yeah, man. Oh God, I wish I would have bought more. Dude, this thing has been running. You know, BitTensor ran from $250 to like 700. I wish I would have bought more at 400. And then they get the 400, and then they're like, yeah, I don't know if I'm bullish on this anymore. One thing I tell our community all the time is when you look at your portfolio going down, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at, okay, what do I have in my portfolio? Right. If a project's down 30-40%, is it just market conditions? Is it liquidations? Or did something fundamentally change with your thesis? And if something fundamentally changed with your thesis, then you can sit there and say, okay, you know what? I was bullish on Caspa, and I'm just using Caspa as an example. I'm not picking on Caspa. I love Caspa. I have Caspa. I thought they would have smart contracts already. I thought they would have more dApps. It's not moving at the pace I want to. And so now my thesis for this bull cycle has changed. And then you kind of alter your exit strategy or your DCA out strategy. So that's what I always tell people. Don't panic when the market's down. Analyze your portfolio, figure out if anything has fundamentally changed. And if it hasn't, if your thesis still is intact, there is no reason that you shouldn't be bringing your cost basis down by buying on the way down, unless you're out of money like me, because you spent a lot of it on buying some altcoins and AI coins.
Well, I mean, you and I, it's also, we're not only investing in the market, we also have a business in media where it's like people don't realize how expensive getting the right camera is. And then you have this issues with it. I mean, I remember one time I set up a studio at my house and I spent like $3,000 just on proper cabling. It's like, it's not a cheap thing to do. So, but I'm honored to be able to build these communities here on BitLab. You doing it, Sin City. You guys have an absolutely beautiful studio there. It's like a professional newsroom studio. I mean, it is sick. And it's not cheap to do it. Yeah, we love it. And there's money to be made, but it takes money to make money, right? So that's why I know you appreciate, I appreciate anybody that becomes members of our channels, or even if you just watch on a daily basis. We love the communities, and especially with how much noise is out there, providing good information. And you just said something great regarding the market. If the fundamental thesis of a coin hasn't changed, why are we worried here? Especially, and I know you see this on your channel as well. Somebody say, hey, why is AVAX down? I'm like, bro, look at why is AVAX down? The altcoin market as a whole. Why is, you come over here and you look at S&P 500. Why is crypto down? Well, you tell me, is it crypto or is it a load? Is it the markets in general experiencing uncertainty? There's uncertainty going on. So as such, you're also seeing other risk assets pull back in kind. But what I would say, do you follow what's going on with the global liquidity and such? Because this gives me a lot of hope. With this global liquidity ticking bottom here and just starting to tick up, and we've got $7 to $9 trillion in debt that the U.S. needs to figure out what they're going to do to refinance in the coming months. And everybody says, but Trump is supposed to be good for markets. Sometimes the best thing for a market is to deal with the pain now. And I think that's what's happening. Let's drop some markets. Let's cause some uncertainty. Let's get the Fed on the right path or good reasoning to cut. Then we can start ticking up these money printers and capture it with the best money printer capture mechanism in the history of the world, which is Bitcoin.
Kelly, let me ask you a question. Do you think that the price of the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ is inflated in any sort of way. Like if the stock market was free, like a free market, like crypto is, where there's no government intervention, there's no Fed intervention, there's no reverse repos, there's no bailouts, there's no printing money. If it was the same across the board, do you think the Dow Jones would be at $42,000?
No, I mean, the markets in general, I think, are a capture mechanism. You're either in it and you're able to stay ahead of inflation and actually grow in life in terms of your monetary basis, or you do not. If people just, even savings banks, you are not, you are going to fall behind unless you participate in some capture mechanism, which is essentially what Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P 500, and Bitcoin is. If you do not invest, you will always be behind. That's basically a proven fact based on these markets. Because if you look at these markets adjusted for inflation, there's really almost never been new highs because it's just capturing all the money printing. That's all it is.
Yeah. Everything's just overinflated pricing, right? And one thing people got to remember is, we talk about the Fed pivoting. I'm pretty sure you were kind of talking about that, global liquidity. And once the Fed does pivot, crashing the economy, having a lower federal fund rate would help in refinancing that debt you're talking about. But what it'll also help with is you have between $6 to $7 trillion sitting in money market funds, which are essentially bonds, which is cash. And so up until 2 years ago, it was, hey, we're earning 4 to 5% on money market fund. Inflation's at 2% or 2.5%. So we have a 2.5% spread there with essentially no risk. And when you got billions and trillions of dollars sitting in there, it's a no-brainer. Once these interest rates come down, that won't be as lucrative anymore, and that money's got to find a new home. And you got to assume that where else is the money going to go? Is it going to go into long-term treasury bonds? Probably not. And then so the only thing you're left with really is precious metals or risk on assets, which includes crypto and Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm actually doing a poll in the chat right now. Is crypto your first ever investment? Because I think I'm biased here. I feel like there's such a democratization and excitement around crypto. Early on, it was because of how much money you can make. And I still think it's that because we're early, right? But I feel like the gamification of crypto has brought in more new investors than probably any other asset class in history because it's so, you set up a Coinbase account, boom, you're in. You set up a Binance, depending on where you're at, boom, you're in. But because of that, I think there's been a lot of retail sentiment in this market in terms of how things have played. And I don't think people have been very prepared for this cycle being so driven by legacy type of investors. There's so much, big money coming in, traditional asset investors, Wall Street, BlackRock, market makers, and people go, well, how can they move a $2 trillion market? Shit, they do it with gold, and that's a 17, $18 trillion market. This is peanuts for them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is nothing. They do it every day in the stock market. It's yeah.
So what's your thoughts, because there's a lot of debate right now, and you and I are not going to have an answer. All we can do is share our opinion.
Yeah.
4-year cycle, which has been basically tried and true for the last 3 cycles, coming into this one. But then there's debate. Is it the 4-year cycle? Is it the fact that Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, or they were, was just brilliant and overlaying it with the global liquidity cycle? Is it the business cycle? Is it the election? It doesn't matter. The 4-year cycle with Bitcoin and the market, do you feel like moving in through this year into the next 4 years, do you think we're going to basically break that trend? Do you think there's a better or worse possibility that maybe we're going to see sustained buying pressure with, 20, 30% dips along the way, especially as, the Cynthia Lummis's bill comes in. We see other nations in Europe, China, Russia, corporations yet to start their allocation strategy plan. Do we have a chance to just have a continued sort of growth trend up, or are we still looking for a 60%, maybe larger pullback for a bear market, 1 year, a year of accumulation, and then another bull market, just like we've seen in the past?
That's a good question. It's hard to go against 14 years of history, right? But I suspect that as crypto becomes more intertwined with the traditional markets, with more ETFs, basket of, you'll have a DeFi, top 10 DeFi ETF, you'll have a top 10 AI, gaming, whatever. And so you'll have a bunch of these crypto native products that are living on Wall Street. And so it's not too far fetched to think that at some point, crypto will start trading like the stock market does. So instead of up only for 12 to 18 months with tiny 20-30% drawdowns. Now I know I say tiny, but when you look overall, like the blip on the chart is small, and it'll go to a more sustained kind of slow grind up. You'll see 20% rallies and maybe 5% corrections, consolidation, 20% rally, 5% correction, consolidation. So I think this and that the old 4-year cycle thesis essentially was broken last year when we made an all-time high before the halving, which has never happened before, right? And so we either accelerated this cycle 7 months, or we're entering into a new, more, I call them mini cycles, like a mini bear cycle, mini bull cycle. Because you look at any chart across crypto, and the consolidation periods are a lot longer than they've ever been. And so part of that is liquidity. Part of that is the offerings of products that are available. Right now, you only have Bitcoin and ETH. Soon, I think by the end of the year, you'll have at least, I mean, not including the duplicates like Bitcoin and ETH or Bitcoin options, right? Bitcoin, ETH, you'll get a Solana, you'll get a Cardano, you'll get a Hedera, you'll get a Litecoin, you'll probably get a few basket ones. So we'll probably have anywhere between 12 to 20 ETFs by the end of the year. And again, as the crypto markets becomes more intertwined with Wall Street, you'll start seeing those markets, at least from those coins that Wall Street has access to. Of course, they can go out and go to an exchange or buy OTC on any coin they want, but at the end of the day, a majority of Wall Street they stay on Wall Street, right? They have their fund managers, they have their financial advisors, and they just do everything through them. It's just much easier, and for tax purposes too. And so you'll start seeing at least those coins start to go up in tandem more with the price action, more like what you see with the S&P and the NASDAQ than you do with what we've seen previously, which is we're getting absolutely destroyed for 2.5 years. And then, we have a year and a half of just insane, 200-300% candles. That's where I think we're going. But also, the benefit of that too is now you get the government on your side. And so now when there's quantitative easing, it's not just an indirect or proxy help to the crypto markets. It'll actually influence it in real time. As you see
Yeah, no,
money
I mean,
start
I
flowing
completely
through.
agree. And one of the funny things is sometimes people will say, why is Bitcoin crashing? Or I can't believe Bitcoin's in a bear market. And then you even look back at this last cycle and the correlation here of, Bitcoin did start to break down first, sure. But the blue line is S&P 500. The orange line is Bitcoin. I mean, it was just where we were with liquidity flow and AKA certainty in markets. Uncertain markets see pullbacks, and we saw it both in Bitcoin and S&P 500. S&P 500 bottomed first, and then we got this. I think a lot of people would argue this kind of was the bottom of Bitcoin, but then we had that final capitulation of the mess from Luna that unwound all the way back to one of the culprits of it, which was FTX. We got that final washout here on the FTX collapse, bottomed out. And then at the same time, what I find beautiful here is even with the collapse of the FTX, right here, where this is that zone, right in the, I'll zoom in on this. This is that FTX collapse. Right at the same zone, when this price action was finding basically a base and accumulation zone, we see the global liquidity tick up very sharply, which kind of, in my opinion, kind of spring-loaded bullishness to come in. And then what we get, boom, popped up. And yes, there's a lot of uncertainty here still. We did hit a higher low. We did go higher. We did hit a higher low. But when we look at this on the price action, this was essentially, for the most part, from here across, I mean, this was, 240 days. You could go all the way from this zone here, 260 days, 270 days of sideways price action. To your point, these longer accumulation ranges. And then we had the spot ETF Hope, and then, the final approval and, oh my God, we sold off. Well, buy the rumor, sell the news. And what we get from this sort of consolidation range, another 70 days. And then we had 7 months here. And now, right here, everybody's like, why is it going sideways? Well, I mean, just from right here, September 6th, all the way up here, that's 100% move, 108% move. It makes sense to me It bothers me that people are worried about this. And all we're seeing is a price action appreciating and coming back to basically a local range high zone where we also had that CME futures gap. And people go, it's over. We haven't even breached a known level to even consider it being over. What would you say to that? Are you kind of on the fence about the bull market being over? Or are you pretty strong conviction like, nah, man, it's stacking time?
It's I don't think, for me, when I look at my chart, the level I have panned out to lose structure is 71.9. Am I able to share my
Yeah,
my
share your screen.
Okay, cool. You know what? Actually, can I do this?
Well, share your screen because then otherwise you're going to mess up the way I have the.
Got it. Let's do that. Share. Can you use that?
Give me 1 second. I got to assign you guest 4. There we go. Let me mute mine. Boom. There we go.
For me,
you're going to have to do something real quick.
yeah.
Drop off the call and join again. When you go to share, you have to go on your tabs. You either have to share your full screen or don't share a tab because it does robot voice if you try to share the audio from a tab. You have to mute the audio from a tab.
It's okay.
Either way, you're going to have to drop off and come back on because it turns your voice to robot voice when you do that. So drop off and come right back. Yeah, we had that same problem with Matthew Hyland. I'm glad we sorted that all out. We'll get him back on here in just a moment. But yeah, just a reminder, just this 3-day chart. Look at this 100 moving average, support with deviations below that are scary. Support coming right back into this support zone. We got our boy back on. Boom, right there. Boom, right there. Okay. Yeah, we had the same issue with Matthew Hyland. There's something about the tab. If it shares audio, it jacks up for some reason.
So you have to share the whole computer?
Well, that or you have to go and you have to turn off the audio sharing on the tabs, or you can just share the entire program.
It's okay. I'll just keep it simple. It was a level at 71,900 or 71,600. That is kind of where I had my eye on for BTC. If we break that, the top end of that range there. If we break below and we start accumulating there like we did, I think we'll get one more run up and then we're probably into a bear market. But until that day comes, I still think we're in a bull market. Now, one thing I got wrong, is you never right on everything, is I didn't foresee 15 to 20% drawdowns in the bull market for Bitcoin with Wall Street being in here and all the bullish stuff. So, but I think we were already at close to 30. What is that? 30%, Kelly?
Yeah, 29. Yeah, right about 30%.
30%. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to get some relief bounces. I think we're going to get one more flush down. It's going to scare. It's essentially going to get everyone out of the market that doesn't need to be in the market, or people that are scared, right? And then you're going to start seeing these ETF issuers. Then you'll start seeing more announcements of this sovereign wealth fund is buying Bitcoin. This state is buying Bitcoin. And then that'll cause a run. We'll take out some key levels like 86.5, 92.5. And then once we hit 100K again, we'll see a large FOMO rally. And I think that comes end of Q2, around Q3. By that time, I think retail will be off in a better place. People have gotten their tax returns. I think the interest rates will be a lot lower. All the people that got into mortgages at 6-7%, as their homes have continued to accrue value, are able to do a cash out refinance, kind of, getting their pockets a little more sturdy, right? Putting more money in their pocket. And so I think it'll be the perfect storm for retail to come in at over 100K, which happens every time. It's like the markets get shaken out. Big money and smart money whales come in, they buy up, and then the people that wanted to buy or were talking about buying never do, and they buy the top and become exit liquidity. It's a tale as old as time.
Well, on that note, I'm curious. I'll pull up the chart just so we can look at it while we talk about it. What's your take on the never-ending bleeding in Ethereum? It's like it almost feels like it's trying to convince the market. Let me go out to the daily. It's almost like it's trying to convince the market that Ethereum is dead this cycle. There's too many other altcoins. There's Solana, there's Avalanche, there's Cardano, there's XRP, and maybe there's not going to be liquidity in this cycle. Maybe it doesn't have that type of run. But at the same time, I've also seen in markets when everybody gives up, that's usually when it makes a turn. So what's your thought on Ethereum going into the remainder of this cycle?
Man, it's crazy seeing the change at the Ethereum Foundation, including the developers and Vitalik Buterin himself. You started seeing him be more social on social media, right? You started seeing them try to push upgrades faster, which ETH never does. And the last one I think failed in the testnet, right? And they're starting to feel the heat. ETH is starting to feel the heat. Their upgrades take way too long. And you got projects like SWI, like Solana, Cardano just introduced Hydra. You got Caspa that just is about to go to 10 blocks per second. And the
Not to
whole,
mention Base, which is also having an upgrade that's going
right,
to be faster than Solana and cheaper.
right. And so ETH's play was always, it's where all the liquidity is, right? That was ETH's largest kind of like, no matter what, the liquidity is on Ethereum. But nowadays, with interoperability, you look at a project like ICP, they have chain key Bitcoin, chain key there. So you can essentially tap in to any layer 1 or layer 2 liquidity pool from a completely non-EVM chain, non-Solana virtual machine chain, and the liquidity is becoming less segregated and more integrated. And so that narrative of we have to launch on ETH, that's where all the liquidity is, that's not really the case anymore. But again, it's hard for me to punt Ethereum. You have BlackRock working with them. You have, the World Liberty Finance. It's just, I can't do it, man. I can't. Now, do I think it'll underperform what a lot of altcoins will? Yes, I do. But to completely punt on ETH, when Bitcoin gets to 300 grand, ETH will be at 10K. And so you ask yourself, 1800 to 10K, a little more than a 5X. If you're happy with that, it's pretty low risk. If you're not, you can probably find 10, 15, 20Xs elsewhere in the top 100. But to completely punt on ETH like my co-host Rob has done, I just can't do it. Their market share on RWA is like 50, 60%.
Well,
Their market
I
share
heard
on,
he also likes to pay income taxes too.
dude,
Now,
what
given
is
I pay
wrong
all
with
my income
bro?
taxes, but do I want to? No.
Dude, I'm like, he's like, I want to pay my income tax. I'm like, who wants to pay income taxes? Then he goes off on this tangent about, well, I like roads and I like the military. I'm like, I'm not saying don't fund the government, but there's other ways you can fund the government,
Right.
right? The tariffs can
Exactly.
fund the government if there's no income tax. And so it just either completely went over his head or the dude was on something yesterday, because I think I ran an X poll. And I'm not going to share the screen, but I just want to, the results so far. 92.5% of people said no, they would not like to pay income taxes, and only 7.5% said yes. And I'm assuming the 7.5% is all of Rob's burner accounts that he used to cast his vote on there. So yeah, it was hilarious.
Well, let me ask you, because as we come in, I know we're going to be rolling off here in about 3 to 5, 7 minutes. First off, I do wanted to share this to everybody. Make sure you're following Sin City Crypto here at Sin City Crypto 1. They've got a great show they do every day, and they do all kind of great content. Make sure you're following them. Wonderful guys in the space. But I got to ask you, Bitcoin, of course, we all say, that should be the anchor in everybody's portfolio. Unfortunately, the large majority of people are looking for the higher gains, and so they're overexposed. And a lot of people are very down right now. I'm still confident alts will have quite a bit of liquidity come into them, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be very focused niches that are going to kind of popcorn throughout. It might not be just this all altcoin season like we've seen before, but if you had to pick, let's say 4, if you could only hold 4 altcoins and you had to hold them through where you thought that the top would be, what altcoins are you most excited about in this cycle? You can give a couple top caps and maybe a little secret gem of this might be a big gainer, but it might fail.
Why'd you have to ask this question, Kelly? God damn it.
Hey, let's hear it, baby.
Okay.
Where's your risk at?
All right. So I'm uber bullish on RWA AI. And so for my RWA play, this is so hard. I'm gonna have to go ONDO for RWA. There's so many really good ones. If you said give me 20, I would say XLM, ONDO, Hedera, but ONDO would be my number one for that. I got to throw Chainlink in there.
By the way, ONDO and Chainlink are my 2 largest altcoin holdings. So
Are they?
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, Chainlink. they're now kind of in with the government, what they do, their infrastructure, the CCIP, how that entire kind of mechanism leverages the link token, I think is going to be extremely beneficial. So ONDO, Chainlink, I'm going to go AI. I'm going to go BitTensor. I think with the dynamic Tau upgrade, it's going to bring a lot of money into that ecosystem for their subnets. And BitTensor, I think, is going to be a top 10 project.
And they just finally got integrated and available on Coinbase as well.
Coinbase, yeah, they did. And it's at $250, man. It's so undervalued. And then I'll give you a gem. I am a big bull on stable coins. I think stable coins are going to be a massive narrative. I think that might be the first one to run. And so I'm big on Athena, but the one I'm going to give you is called Asymmetry Finance. They're backed by Fidelity.
What's their, do they have a ticker?
Yeah, ASF. F like Frank.
AFM?
No, ASF. Yep.
Yeah, it's coming into a nice level too.
Yeah. So I'm super bullish on that. And then just, stable coin yield in general, Athena, you got, MakerDAO, you have Curve DAO, Convex, you can throw not really stable coin, but more infrastructure. You can throw Axelar in there. So there's a bunch of good ones. But if you pinned me down and said pick 4, that would be the 4 I would choose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm especially with institutions coming in. Yeah, RWA, the ONDO, it's like, it feels like it's high, but you look at how high Uniswap went last cycle. You look at how high Dogecoin, $80 billion market cap. I could see ONDO going somewhere between 60 and 100 billion market cap. It may happen this cycle. It may not, but
dude, Hex got to like 90 billion.
Yeah. And then Aerodrome, I'm super bullish on Aerodrome because all their essential DeFi DEX plays that they're doing with Coinbase and Base and wrapped Bitcoin on Base and the DeFi lending that's going to start being available. It's already available, but growing in popularity. But yeah, super bullish. So we did get a super chat from our boy here, Mr. Crypto Danks. He said, big love, homie. Alex Becker says he's not selling alts till ETH all-time high. That's all. You know what? Thoughts on that is kind of goes back to what you said, Dave. It's like, I'm on the fence. ETH might have an all-time high this cycle.
It'll have
I still think it will. I still think it will. I think it's kind of a little sleeper, especially with banks. I just saw a bunch of data this morning. Banks now, ETFs starting to be able to add staking to those ETFs, but also banks remember 121 was rescinded. As banks start getting more involved with crypto and digital assets, I do think they're going to start offering different DeFi products and services, which means they're more likely to hold ETH than something that's 60 coins down on the coin market cap rankings. So I don't think it's out of the picture. But yeah, I'm holding strong.
I think ETH definitely makes a new all-time high. Just don't know how high.
Then of course, everybody was so upset with Solana, so excited at 295, 290, and now it's like upset. I'm like, if you're excited here, you should be jumping for joy that you have this opportunity to buy back down here at $111 a drop to. I mean, golly, that is a 65% drop. 62%. Holy moly. Yeah. I mean, I think Solana is going to come back in a big way. Can it go lower? Sure.
I agree.
I already marked this out for you all last week. Coming down in somewhere between 70 and 90 seems like it could be very doable. But if the market starts finding a bottom here and we start seeing reversals, then, you never know where the bottom is. That's why I always say ladder your entries. You don't need to jeet it just at the perfect price because you may never get it. It's better to average this here. But I'm excited about this market, and I'm excited you and I could get on here, talk some shop. I'll be on Sin City next week.
That's right.
I believe it's 17th, right? 17th or 18th. I can't remember.
Yeah, Tuesday.
But I'm excited about that. Are you excited? Because you guys, it's finally Bitcoin conference in your home neck of the woods.
I know.
I'm sure you're going to be doing all kind of kick-ass stuff in your studio with guests and stuff. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with you.
It's going to be a good time. We're excited. We're definitely going to host a couple meetups. We'll do some fun stuff with the community. So we're just surprised that it took this long. You know, Vegas has always been the home of conventions and gatherings and all that fun stuff. And so it's nice to see Bitcoin come to Vegas, and we expect a really big turnout. And it's gonna be fun, man. No one parties like Vegas does.
Let's just hope. I mean, I was talking with Matthew Highland about it last night. If the market is still down, and especially alts and everything's still getting crushed, the conference is going to be great still. It'll just be like all of the real just crypto people that are like actively building. If the market starts really pumping again, then you get a whole different playful, like wild vibe. But either way, it's going to be fun. Anybody out there, if you're on the fence about it, I highly recommend, whether it's a Bitcoin conference or any conference that you have access to somewhat near you, go to a conference. It changes your idea of the space, because all of us, even with where it's at now, there's a large majority of us that have 0 family members, maybe 1 family member that's involved in crypto. When you get out of just being a keyboard warrior and you get to tie some faces and handshakes and hugs to face, like in person, you really start to see, not only where this space is, but where it's going. I really do highly recommend it. But Dave, I appreciate you coming on. Everybody, make sure you go give them a follow at SinCityCrypto1 on Twitter, and their link for their YouTube is there as well. You can also just Google or YouTube search SinCityCrypto. But with that, I'll leave you with the closing thoughts, closing statements, anything people should be looking out from you guys, or any positive words.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. What I'll tell people is this. Never make decisions when you're emotionally high or emotionally low, right? You want to make your decisions when you're in the middle. So when you're euphoric, don't make decisions. When you're down and fearful, don't make decisions. It usually ends up being the wrong one. And so hold steady, reevaluate your portfolios, reevaluate your theses, and continue to update them. Watch shows like Kelly, BitLab Academy. Come check out our show. We're actually going live in about an hour and a half on YouTube. And so don't lose sight of the focus, right? This is how the rich continue to add to their wealth, is when others run away from fear, they realize that, hey, this is actually a product or an investment that's at a discount, and the risk versus reward is there for me to put substantial amount of money while the rest are selling. They push the price up. So it's a game. It's a game that's been going on for quite a while. So hold steady. Don't get shaken out in the markets. We're still in a bull market. Yeah, thanks again, man.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, ding the bell, hit that repost over on X. Make sure you're following at SinCityCrypto1. Big love to you, brother. I look forward to doing more of these, and I look forward to hanging with you in Vegas here in only a couple of weeks. And I'll be on your show next week, talking up shop. Everybody, remember, the scariest times, it never goes away. Dave will tell you, he's been in multiple cycles. You never shake the fear. You just learn to, I've been here before. Other people are scared. They're selling. I'm buying. Sometimes you have to adjust your time horizon, but this is where the rubber meets the road. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Amen.
I'm going to shoot you off over to Blockchain Basement. And thank you, Dave, for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Adios, everybody.